In the vast universe of your mind lies an untapped potential waiting to be harnessed. These aren't just poetic words, but a scientific truth. The human brain, a marvel of nature, holds within it an immense capacity to learn, adapt and grow. It's not a static entity, but rather a dynamic one, constantly changing and evolving. This is thanks to a phenomenon known as brain plasticity. It's like the brain's superpower, allowing it to form new connections and pathways, even in response to injury or disease. This plasticity is what enables us to learn new skills, remember facts, and yes, even change the way we think. So how can one harness this potential and train the brain to think differently? Stick around to find out. Before we delve into the training process, it's crucial to understand how our brain works. Like a bustling city, our brain is a hive of activity. At the heart of this activity are neurons, the nerve cells that transmit information throughout our body. These neurons communicate with each other at junctions called synapses, passing messages through an intricate network of neural pathways. Imagine these pathways as the streets and highways of our brain city. Just as a well-trodden path becomes more distinct over time, so too do our neural pathways grow stronger with repeated use. Each time we think, feel, or do something, we're traveling along these neural highways. The more we repeat a thought or action, the more traffic it attracts and the more established the route becomes. This is the basis of learning. But our brain's road network isn't set in stone. Just as a city can construct new roads or reroute traffic, our brain can change its pathways based on new experiences or learning. This ability is known as neuroplasticity. It's like the city's town planning department, constantly adapting and evolving to meet the needs of its inhabitants. Understanding this, we can see that our brains are not rigid or unchangeable. They are dynamic, adaptable, and capable of change. This is the key to training our brains to think differently. We can learn to redirect our mental traffic to pave new roads and to reshape the landscape of our inner city. With this understanding, we are ready to embark on the journey of training our brain to think differently. The first step in training your brain is to acknowledge your existing thought patterns. Imagine the brain as a vast, intricate network of roads. Every thought, feeling and reaction you have is like a vehicle moving along these roads. Some of these routes are deeply ingrained like highways, while others are less traveled paths. Now, these highways are your habitual thought patterns, the ones you unconsciously follow without even realizing it. Think of it this way. You're driving along, and suddenly you're stuck in a traffic jam of negative thoughts. You're honking, frustrated, and it's all because you've unconsciously chosen a route that's notorious for jams. This is where self-awareness comes in. It's your GPS system helping you recognize these habitual routes and traffic jams. Common negative thought patterns might include all or nothing thinking, where you see things in black and white categories. If a situation falls short of perfect, you see it as a total failure. Another is catastrophizing, where you automatically anticipate the worst. The drive-through is closed, and you instantly think the entire day is ruined. Identifying these patterns is like recognizing that you've been driving down the same jammed highway every day. It's about realizing that there are other routes, other ways to drive your thoughts. This self-awareness, this acknowledgement of your thought patterns, is a crucial first step to change. Recognizing these patterns is half the battle won. Now let's move on to the next step. Once we've identified our thought patterns, it's time to challenge and replace the negative ones. So let's dive right into how we can do this. The first technique to challenge negative thoughts is questioning their validity. It's like being a detective of your own mind. When a negative thought creeps in, don't accept it at face value. Instead, ask yourself, is this thought based on facts, or is it just my perception? More often than not, you'll find that these thoughts are not grounded in reality, but rather they're the product of your worries and fears. Next, look for evidence. If your mind tells you, I'm not good at this, ask yourself, what's the proof? You might be surprised to discover that the evidence you find actually contradicts your initial thought. Maybe you've had successes in the past that your mind conveniently forgot about. Or perhaps you're just starting out and it's too soon to judge your abilities. Now, consider alternative perspectives. Negative thoughts often come from seeing situations through a narrow, pessimistic lens. But what if you could swap that lens for a more optimistic one? For example, instead of thinking, "I failed," you could think, "I learned something valuable that I can use next time." This shift in perspective can make a huge difference in how you view yourself and the world around you. Finally, it's time to replace those negative thoughts with positive or neutral ones. This doesn't mean blindly ignoring the negatives. Instead, it's about consciously choosing to focus on the positive aspects of a situation. If you've made a mistake, instead of dwelling on it, think about what you can do to rectify it or what you've learned from it. Remember, these techniques aren't about achieving perfection, they're about progress. It's about training your brain to shift from a negative bias to a more balanced, realistic view of the world. With practice, this step can significantly alter the way your brain processes information. So keep challenging and replacing those negative thoughts. Your mind is a powerful tool, and with a bit of effort, you can harness its power for your benefit. The third step in our journey is to practice mindfulness. Now you may be wondering, what exactly is mindfulness? It's a mental state achieved by focusing your awareness on the present moment, while calmly acknowledging and accepting your feelings, thoughts, and bodily sensations. Mindfulness is more than just a trend. It's a tool that can help us train our brains to think differently. It allows us to be fully present, engaged in where we are and what we're doing, and not overly reactive or overwhelmed by what's going on around us. When we're mindful, we observe our thoughts and feelings from a distance, without judging them as good or bad. Instead of letting life pass by, mindfulness means living in the moment and awakening to our current experiences. So, how can you practice mindfulness in your daily life? It's simpler than you might think. Start by taking a few minutes each day to focus on your breathing. Sit in a quiet place, close your eyes, and simply focus on your breath going in and out. If your mind starts to wander, gently bring your focus back to your breath. Another way to practice mindfulness is through mindful eating. This involves paying attention to the taste, sight, and textures of your food, rather than mindlessly shoveling it into your mouth. Remember, the goal of mindfulness isn't to stop thinking, it's to stop our minds from wandering aimlessly. It's about focusing on the present and accepting it without judgment. Incorporating mindfulness into your routine can pave the way for a calmer, more balanced mind. Training your brain to think differently is not an overnight process, but a journey. And what a journey it promises to be. We've navigated through the fascinating intricacies of the brain, acknowledging our thought patterns, challenging negative thoughts, and practicing mindfulness. Each step is a milestone, a testament to your courage and determination. Patience, dear friends, is the crux of this journey. It's about nurturing your mind at your own pace, and recognizing that the road to change is not a sprint, but a marathon. It's about realizing that every stumble, every challenge, is an opportunity for growth. The beauty of this journey is that it's lifelong. The brain in all its splendor has an endless capacity for change. It is a canvas that never runs out of space, a book that never runs out of pages. Each day presents a chance to learn something new, to think a little differently, to grow a little more. It's not about reaching a destination, but about savoring the journey itself. It's about the small victories, the moments of clarity, the newfound understanding of oneself. It's about the joy of discovery, the thrill of transformation.